Welcome to GME Admin Insights, the podcast dedicated to the GME community. I am your host, Natasha Brox, and I'm thrilled to be back with you today. You know, I talk a lot about professional development, leaders, leadership, networking, and I like to have people on the podcast that brings insight, growth, and meaningful information to the GME community. And with that, today's guest is doing just that. Many of you may already know her, and if you don't, then you need to. And if you do, great. Let me introduce you to a trailblazer in the GME community, Barbara Gohre. Barbara Gohre serves as the GME Accreditation and Program Manager for Pediatric Fellowship Programs in Arizona. She has a bachelor's in healthcare administration. She is a certified Lean Six Sigma belt holder, program manager, and quality champion in IGPE. She excels in areas like accreditation, compliance, quality improvement, program and policy development, stakeholder engagement, analyst, and project management. Barbara has contributed significantly to the GME community through scholarly activities and committee roles, including presentation at the 2024 Omni Institution and NASAMA, and publication. She holds key positions in various committees, reflecting her commitment in medical education and healthcare administration. And if you didn't know, she has started a GME scholarly exchange platform for the community. Yes, you heard me right. She has started this platform for us. So let me introduce you to Barbara Gohre. Welcome to GME Admin Insights, Barbara. I'm glad you are here with us today.
Thank you, Natasha. I'm excited to be here today. Truly, thank you for the opportunity to speak to the community alongside you with your podcast. It's a very exciting moment in time in my professional career.
Thank you. Thank you. That was a lot. That was a mouthful, but we got through it. And it's a mouthful because you are doing a lot. I lived in Arizona. We met at Omni finally after always connecting on LinkedIn. It seemed like we've always been connected on LinkedIn before we met, face to face officially. And we developed through LinkedIn. We shared a lot of common goals and growth with different or the same certificates and journey along the way, right? So that was like I had to have you on the podcast. And I don't know if I asked you once before, and then it was like, oh, I need to have her on because you are doing so much for the
Thank you.
community. So let's go into that. Tell us about your journey, just about your journey first.
Absolutely. So I have also want to say how proud I am of you, Natasha, and all the work you've done, because I've followed your trajectory the last few years for sure. And you've been doing big things, amazing things for our community. So as someone in the community, I thank you for that. I started in GME over 17 years ago, and this is always a fun little story I like to share. Having no understanding of what it was or what it entailed, my medical director walked in one day and said she thought it would be fun to start a general surgery program. And off we went. And this is back in the day when your program applications or PIFs back then were all paper, 500 pages. It was a process, to say the least, to apply for a program. And on top of it, we decided to do osteopathic as our opti. So that was an even more wonderful adventure in regards to starting a new program. But I fell in love with the world from the start. I've always held a love for the medical world and perhaps not so much the stomach for the clinical side. So it was just a perfect way to still be a part of the healthcare system and make an impact and difference. Fast forward, we don't need to go through all of the different roles I've had in the different institutions, but the past 2 years working at my current institution, and having the leaders and just the colleagues there that propel you to continue to dive into the different sections of GME, into the different opportunities to expand your horizons. I truly believe that it's a community of people striving to bring our best foot forward, with innovative practices and ideas. Our roles within GME are the backbone to the daily operations and management of the programs and institutions, and our ability to contribute to that overall landscape of medical education is ever growing. I think that that is what drives me daily on this journey, and venturing into new spheres within our hemisphere of our world is important, and the networking part is so amazing.
I love the networking part. I always tell people to network, 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 because you never know
Yes.
what it will bring.
Absolutely. And you never know what you'll be able to contribute to someone else's journey and what they'll be able to contribute to yours.
Right.
I think that, if you work past those fears of rejection, especially we're in the time of submissions right now. Not everybody is picked, not everybody gets a trophy. And, you have to work past that and still continue to have that goal of working on your scholarly activities. And then, like you were sharing a moment ago, Natasha, making those connections at conferences or even via LinkedIn. It was kind of kismet the way you and I
Mhm.
kind of were on a similar trajectory, and we'll dive into that a little bit later, I know, in regards to certifications, but definitely something that you lean on one another for ideas and processes and new ways of thinking about your career and professional profile.
Yeah. So with that, what do you think was your biggest motivator for like your professional development, even within GME or
Mm.
without it GME? What was your biggest motivator?
I think I wanted to push myself as far as I could push myself. I think that I wanted to expand my horizons and, like I said, work past that fear. I can come across very confident, but I have a lot of internal anxiety about things. And, there's times where I'll present a presentation and I'll have colleagues say, "Oh, you did so good. You didn't." And I think to myself, I was a shaking, bumbling fool internally. Like,
Exactly.
I was
Exactly.
in my
Yes.
boots
Yes.
shaking for the entire hour. But you have to work through that and just push forward. So.
I remember when I was at Omni actually, and I was supposed to do a presentation with Melissa, and
Yes,
uh,
yes.
yeah, she ended up not making it. I'm like, oh my God, I have to do this all by myself, and I was so nervous. But people was like, "Oh, you did such a great job," but inside
Mhm.
I was like, "Really?" Because I didn't think I did. I had know I had to do it, and I just got through it. But I was a nervous wreck when I did
Absolutely.
that presentation. So I truly understand exactly what you're saying about that. Like you're shaking, but I mean, we just have to get through it and keep going.
And every time you get through one,
Mhm.
you feel more confident for the next one.
You know what? Yes, but I still am nervous when I first
Oh,
do it.
yeah, for
Always.
sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The nerves will always be there, but those are good nerves. We have to look at
Yeah.
them as good nerves.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. So, what advice would you give, like the GME community, when it comes to their growth or development?
I think the biggest thing I can say is go for it.
Hmm.
Go for it. Walk through the fear and worry that we all feel. Know that it's normal and human to have that worry and fear and that disappointment. It's okay to be disappointed if you don't receive an acceptance or you don't get selected for a presentation. It's okay to have a moment of disappointment, but what you do past that moment of disappointment
Right.
is what matters the most.
That is
Um,
true.
yeah. And I think that even if we all do not share our feelings out loud with others of that, you know, disappointment or rejection or failure,
Mhm.
that there's a quote, and I don't know it specifically, but I'm paraphrasing, that the only time you truly fail is when you don't even try, right? When that's failure, when you don't take the risk
Right.
and try. Failure
Exactly.
isn't trying and
Right.
not succeeding.
Right. Right. If you don't try, then you'll never know. So
Yep.
I know you said we was going to jump into the certificates, and I want to do that because we have so many similar ones. We have, you know, I know that like when I was going through my search, I was like, what is out there for us? So I just was
Mhm.
digging, and there was certain things that always came up. So what made you go for your certificates that you have?
Absolutely. So I was CTAGME
Hmm.
for the 5-year window, and I moved from program level into a GME consultant role. And during that transition, my CTAGME had expired. And as we all know, with CTAGME, it requires you to renew it within a certain window, or you'll have to wait 2 years to take it again. So that's what happened. My window passed. So I started researching other avenues of certifications that would transcend into medical education. I will share personally, I'm not, I wasn't a fan of Excel or NAT charts, or they intimidated me. I felt like that, I have a pretty high GPA, not perfect because my history teacher tanked it with an 89.9 years ago. Yes, I still hold on to that. But I feel intelligent, but it didn't matter. These just charts and graphs and formulas, they just kind of overwhelmed me. And so I never really looked into those avenues because I felt like it was something that wouldn't pertain to what I do.
Hmm.
Um, and when I came across the Six Sigma Global Institute, which was my first one for certified healthcare program manager, I realized that this was something that I could do at my own pace, in my home, on my off hours when I had time to do it. And it worked for me in my life now. I'm also now an empty nester, so that definitely gives me a little bit more bandwidth to look into different various ways
Hmm.
of, enhancing my certifications.
Right.
And then I don't know if it was with you, it might have been you started the Six Sigma Global Institute road and we're posting about it, and that might have been what triggered me into looking into that. So again, your network, your community,
Right.
people sharing what they're doing,
Right.
is so important for our world.
That is so true.
And yeah, and so I started looking at that and I thought, well, heck, why not, let's go down this too.
Exactly. Because you think
Yeah.
about it, that's what we do in our world, like in our GME community,
Hmm.
that's what we do. So
Yes,
it helps us anyway, you
it
know?
really does. And I was really pleasantly surprised at how much it translates into our world. It
Mhm.
really does. It's about teaching you how to look at things from an objective point of view.
Mhm.
It's teaching you how to look at it from a higher level. And I just think that it was important for me to continue that professional development, and I was able to find these pathways to do it.
Yeah.
Because I think, at the end of the day, Natasha, we're more than coordinators, administrators, managers, leaders. We are, like I said earlier, part of the institutional and program level leadership team, and we should be willing and wanting to continue to advance our knowledge in areas that will develop us
Right.
and push us forward in our works.
And as leaderships, we need um, that growth or even that development because especially if they are not going to give us what we need to take it upon ourselves to learn,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And stay accountable. If we are sitting in the seats with the C suite and the stakeholders and the leadership, then we need to make sure that we are knowledgeable. And
Hmm.
that's where our growth comes in. I like that.
Absolutely.
I like that.
Absolutely. I like the saying of, we can't have comments or complaints for the table if we're not willing to have a seat at the table. I
Exactly.
say it better when I'm not on camera, but
And then having that seat and then coming with the solution.
yes, don't come with if you're coming with a problem, come with a
Come with
possible
solution,
solution.
right?
Yep.
And I always have a whole list of solutions like, let's do this, this, and this.
Yeah.
Now, whether you take it is a different story, but come with solutions. Um,
Yes.
I know that we sit on like several committees um, and board of directors. So, why do you think that it's important to either be and sit on a committee or like do a conference or present at a conference?
Mhm. I think that for years I felt like I wasn't a physician. I had this imposter syndrome happening where I'm not going to go for a committee role because I'll be on that committee with all physicians. And, how is my voice going to matter? And that's the thinking we all need to change, because my voice does matter and my perspective matters. And sometimes I bring to the table a different viewpoint that is acknowledged and used and utilized in a better process improvement strategy. So I think that we have to be willing to participate in the various aspects of our role and within all of medical education community. In order to create the change, we have to advance our communities and our professionalism. I cannot state enough how important serving on the committees does it, and also presenting at the conferences for our networking,
Yes.
and our development of critical thinking in pursuit of ongoing learning and development. Because the thing is that when you're working on, even if it doesn't get accepted, I might have a little bit of bias here because I haven't received any community. I don't think I was accepted this year for something, so I might still be in my feelings about that a little bit. But even if you don't get accepted, the thing is that every time you work on these submissions, every time you work on these abstracts, you're increasing your knowledge, you're increasing your research skills, your data analysis skills. You're always increasing your professional development, even if the opportunity doesn't arise for you to present it.
That's
And then it's extra kudos if you're able to actually present what you worked on.
That is so true. That's true.
Yeah, I think it's very important for our roles.
And being, even though if you don't present it, you have that in your catalog, right? So if you do give like a webinar, a presentation somewhere else, you still have it to where you can present it somewhere in some capacity. And like you said,
yes,
you
you
learn
do.
from what you've put together, right? Or you can
Absolutely.
help someone else out because you've already learned it. So you're knowledgeable about that now. So you have a question about this. Oh, let me show you what I've learned, right? So you can still present it without presenting it.
Absolutely. And speaking on that real quick, I want to give a shout out to, there's so many people I want to give a shout out to, but I won't. But I want to give a shout out to Chris Triconi. I'm sure a lot of people in the GME community know that name. And many, many years ago, I don't remember the exact year, but it was many. Chris and I, with Chris taking lead, worked on an article submission to HC Pro. That was the very first time I had ever submitted anything. And, she really helped me understand how to format and to, work on the pieces of it. And I don't know that if I hadn't had that experience, if I would have continued pursuing scholarly activity.
Really?
So it can be one person that takes a moment and gives you an opportunity to expand yourself. For instance, you with this podcast with me, if you saw my feet right now, you'd see them twitching and shaking. But what an opportunity that I never really dived into in my internal brain of possibilities. So it's all of us uplifting one another. I don't want to sound like a song, but it really is.
But you're true. You're right. That's so true. Like we feed off each other and we continue to grow from each other because if we're not putting it out there for us, then who will? The doctors take care of the doctors, the residents, the doctors take care of the residents, or, sometimes everybody takes care of the nurses, but it's like we are forgotten, right? So we have to develop things for ourselves.
It's kind of like parenting, right? I tell my husband all the time that our kids, maybe lash out towards us a little bit more because we're the safe place, right? We're not going anywhere. We're not going anywhere. And I feel like sometimes our roles can be looked at in a way of, oh, it's okay. We don't need to, do, because they know we're dedicated. Like we're the heart of this, and it's what we do it from our hearts and our minds. And so we have to be there for one another to be that community of support. I mean, listen, I have great leaders. I'm not taking away from that. By far, the GME office I work in heads above any other one I've ever worked in. So I definitely want to give value to that as well, and the support given in regards to our continued professional development. But we as a community are the true ones that uplift and uphold each other in those sections. And I think we always need to continue to do that.
Yeah, that's true. That is so true. Okay. So you know what I want to get into.
I know.
I
So excited.
am so excited because this goes into what we've been talking about anyway, uplifting the community, being there for the community, the growth of the community, the development of the community. And this right here is so exciting to me. So exciting to me. You just know how much I'm like excited about this. So we want to talk about this journal. I keep calling it a journal, but I know it is the what did we agree that it was?
Scholarly exchange platform.
Scholarly exchange platform. Now, when you talk
Yeah.
about not really being accepted for a position or a presentation or whatever, this is another place that I was talking about. We can still present without presenting. So
Yes.
you created this scholarly exchange, right?
Yes.
Take us through this. Take us through the journey of this and how it was recreated, and like what's your hope for it?
Absolutely. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on this. It is exciting. Every day is another exciting moment with it. Um, it's definitely, I think, my baby now in regards to the time and devotion I've put into it off hours. So again, bringing up how it can be discouraging for our roles to submit scholarly ideas and best practices or process improvement methods to the bigger journals out there, as most have a high rejection rate, and it may seem even higher from the non-physician perspective. And I remember I had gone to one of my leaders and said that I submitted a submission to, I think it was JAMA, and she looked at me shocked, and she was just like, "You did?" And I was like, "Yeah." And she goes, "Oh, that's like a 9% acceptance rate. Like that would be, it's very hard to get accepted." And it wasn't a negative comment. It was just kind of, informative. And I was like, "Oh, wow, that's a pretty, or 9% acceptance rate, sorry." And I was like, "Wow, that's pretty discouraging for our roles, that,
Right.
it would be that difficult to get accepted." And I think that I felt that, if you're non-physician and you're submitting to these different journals and publications, it's hard to get accepted. And so in that moment, I had a nugget of an idea. And so in December of 23, I sent out a national survey through our GME Facebook groups, and asked for it to be shared far and wide. And we had hundreds of respondents, and our respondent rate was 97% of them, which is
Wow.
huge in a national poll like that,
Mhm.
felt that the scholarly exchange platform was needed and would be valuable to our professional works. It was felt that we needed better exposure and opportunities to share our innovative ideas, our research studies, our best practices, and also our subject matter expertise. So as I said, it was a nugget of an idea, and I connected with somebody because with this survey, there was an option to leave information if you were interested in participating
Mhm.
in the process. And Pamela Furnow out of Jacksonville, Florida, was one of the first communicators of interest in regards to being a part of this. And so her and we just started working together on all the aspects and pieces of this. I do want to share that the scholarly exchange title is Forum for United Leaders in Graduate Medical Education. The acronym is FULGME or FULGME. And we have trademarked the name. So thank you for the insight on that. And it is filed and official. So we're very excited about that. We also sent out a call for participants and board members. And I'm excited to share that we had our first board meeting 2 weeks ago, and we're having our next one here today soon. and we were able to have myself as chair, Pamela as co-chair. We have 2 associate editors, and we have 5 board members, so from across the nation. And what I love about this is that it's people from every walk within this community. It is leaders that are either, have done this for 25 years and have retired and are authors and writing books, or it's national speakers and people that have just started out from a few years ago and are diving into this world. And I think that's so important because you learn so much from every level. And if you're open to that, you can do great things. I also wanted to share that we will have a website called FULGME.org, and that should be published within the next 2 weeks. I need the board to approve us making it public, but it's pretty much ready to go. And the exciting thing about the scholarly exchange platform is you're going to have different methods of sharing your scholarly activity. Submit to us and we'll create a printed PDF journal type document that will be sent out to our distribution list. But also in our website, we have a page that will spotlight submissions. So this will be a quarterly scholarly exchange. And what we'll do is every month throughout that quarter, we'll be highlighting and spotlighting the work that has been selected and published on our website as well. So people in our roles, sometimes we like to show our family a little bit more what we do, or our friends, or our community on LinkedIn, or our GME Facebook groups. And this is a great opportunity that you'll be able to share the link and say, look at what I was able to get done. And more importantly, share your thoughts, your perspectives, your best practices, uplift each other. Our resources, they're so vast and so wide. We don't have to reinvent the wheel every day. We have the wheels out there in the world that we can work with.
This is such a great tool for the GME community, because
so exciting.
We can continue to learn and put it in a submission, and and then people can continue to read it. It's not, conferences, they're once a year, which is great, where everybody comes together. But this is a continual basis of learning, right? So someone is going to continue to put their energy and their growth and their learning into something to continue to share, in this platform. So
and it's a great opportunity, Natasha, if you have those internal fears or anxiety about submitting to ACGME or NASAMA or AMI, and you want to test the waters and throw something out there and see what the response is, we're a great opportunity for that. Because if you receive acceptance and you are able to share that information within our community and throughout your networks, that does nothing but continue to build your confidence and take away that imposter syndrome. So I really think it's a great opportunity just overall for our community to have our voices heard, and to also expand ourselves within the scholarly activity realm.
And it becomes addicting. The more you do it, the more you want to do, and the more you want to dig in, the more you want to could present, and it becomes addicting, and it helps everyone in the long run too. So it's just, getting your feet wet and stepping out there, and then, going from there. I love it. I think this is a great tool that you have built for everybody. Love it.
Thank you. It takes a team, so I don't want to take away from all of us involved.
But it came from your thinking first. How can
it did.
And then it sparks, and then the teams create it, and then you have it for everybody. So,
sometimes that non-ADHD diagnosed helps. Or non-diagnosed ADHD. Sometimes it helps. When I wake up at 4 a.m. and I have a thought, I'm starting to write them down now.
You know what? I do the same thing. I'll wake up and I'll grab my phone and I'll email myself, I'll talk it, and I'll send it, so I won't forget it.
Oh yeah. Well, my husband, just to be on a human level, my husband this morning goes, I really wish you would figure out how to stop working through things in your sleep, because the talking last night was horrendous. And I said, what was I talking about? And he goes, I don't know. You were saying something about the dementia unit is closed. What?
Oh, that's
So,
real because
yep,
we're
always
always going,
going.
always
Yep.
going. Don't know how to turn it off. But that could be a good thing too. We're not going to look
Yes.
at it as a negative.
Nope.
So, with this scholarly exchange platform, so why do you think the platform for coordinators and administrators and managers, because it is for everyone,
Yes.
is so important? I know you said because like if they are new beginning at this, they can get their feet wet, they
Mhm.
can slowly dive into submissions. Or are there any other, important reasons why, you know, this is also a great feature for them?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I think years and years ago, our ability to network, our ability to
Mhm.
learn from others was very limited. We were an island upon ourselves. We were siloed. I don't think I had a GME office for my first couple roles. When I started, I was GME.
Exactly. Yeah.
Barbara sitting there by herself in her little office was the GME, UME, ME. Yeah, it was everything, right?
All of it.
All of the Emmys. And I think that this scholarly exchange platform gives an opportunity for all of us throughout the different pathways of our
Mhm.
career to share with each other. And, as a new program coordinator, new program administrator, or even a program manager, GME manager,
Yeah.
I think that it's an opportunity to have another avenue of information and of knowledge sharing
So true.
that is critical to our roles. We can't sit stagnant in our knowledge. We can't just say, oh, I know how to look up program specific requirements. I'm good.
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
true. You need to be able to look at wellness activity, wellness expeditions and activities. You need to be able to look at the national, face of medical education and the different policies and politics behind it that might affect your trainees. You need to be able to look at the different ways to look at data and analyze it. And this doesn't just help you. If you have a fellow that it does happen, comes to you and says, I'm having trouble with the IRB and getting some data I'm looking for and da 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 da. If you're not willing to look into your own scholarly activity world, how are you able to support
Right.
theirs? So
Right.
I think that this is an opportunity for us as a community to, again, as I said, to share
Mhm.
our voice,
Yes.
to share our expertise, and to share it far and wide, and it not be so selective on
Hmm.
only a certain percentage of non-physician writers or
Yeah.
submitters getting accepted.
That's true. That's true. That's a great point. That's a great point.
Mhm.
I like that. I like that a lot. You hit on some very important topics on that. That's so that I didn't even think about. But you're right. Like, how are we going to navigate our fellows and residents on any scholarly activity if we don't really know? You know,
Right.
and we would have to look this information up and tell them anyway. So why not already be prepared and have your own and then maybe even collab. You just never know where to go.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
Especially if you're knowledgeable on it, then they may be like, "Oh, why don't you jump on this with me?" You just never know. Just
You
never
don't.
know where to take you.
And you have to be willing to say yes, even if that voice in your head is saying, no, 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 oh my God, no, don't do this. Like, what are you thinking?
Push
Like,
yourself.
you have to.
Just push yourself. You have to.
If
Yeah.
you saw me at 6 a.m. this morning, Miss Ross, you would be like, is she gonna do this? But you have to be willing to say
That's so
yes,
true. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
step out of I have a colleague, and I
Yeah.
don't want to shout out names that haven't given me permission, so I won't shout out a name, but she'll know who she is. And one of her favorite sentences is, get comfortable. I'm gonna get it wrong, but be comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Uncomfortable. Yes.
Yeah. So
Comfortable being
it's
uncomfortable. Yes.
definitely, yeah. So
Yes.
I think
So
that you
true.
have to be okay with being uncomfortable and step
Yeah.
into that.
But you know what? it only propels you to continue for growth, right? Because
Right.
it's uncomfortable, but you are putting yourself in different positions, right?
Hmm.
So these are positions you may have never seen yourself in, or you're around totally different people you haven't been around before. So it's only growing you, and then other people are seeing you that you've never seen before, and then they're like, who is her and what's going on, and yeah, let's go ahead, let's keep collaborating, and it goes from
Hmm.
there,
You
right?
know, yeah, and I started doing something on LinkedIn. I don't remember how long ago now because I've been doing it for a while now, but on Tuesdays,
Yes.
I started doing thankful and thought. It switches every week. Sometimes I say thankful Tuesday, other day Tuesdays I say thoughtful
Thoughtful
Tuesday,
Tuesday, yes.
but it's always Tuesday. And I always push myself, even on those days that I'm sitting at my computer and I'm like, it doesn't seem like it's a big deal to post, but man, I just don't have the capacity today to post this. I'm busy, I'm swamped. I've got 4 programs and I'm a GME accreditation manager learning that new role and all the pieces to that. And, like I don't, and then I stop myself and I say, no, this is a promise you made to yourself that you
Yes.
would dedicate to the community on
Yes.
Tuesdays. And I think it was ACGME or it had to be ACGME or AMI. And somebody walked up and said, "Oh, you're Barbara." And I was like, I don't know who you, and you should probably, I think maybe you were standing there. And I'm like, I don't know who you are. Like, why are you approaching? And they're like, you do the Thoughtful Tuesday posts on Lee. I love those. And I
Mm-hmm.
thought, wow, something that you don't think makes an impact or a large impact. You don't know
Yep.
what the other person on the other side, what that impact is for them.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh,
And I will tell you, I've known, like being in Arizona, when I say, oh, Arizona, Arizona, Phoenix, Arizona, oh, you're out there with Barb. She does Thankful Tuesday. And I'm like, yes, I sure am. Like, so yes. And one of my friends in New York, she was like, do you know Barb? Because, still the Arizona, everybody in Arizona knows everybody, right?
yeah,
And I'm like, yeah, I know Barb. She does that Faithful Tuesday. Yeah, yeah. Oh, wow. So people know the Thankful Tuesday,
yeah,
the
yeah.
Thankful Tuesday. The, they know on Tuesday they are going to get some type of um meaningful um thought that can
Mhm.
help them or push them forward or be like, okay, let me be thankful for today, So
Yeah,
it's always, yeah.
yeah.
So
Because like I said, our world can be very thankless,
yeah,
right? So
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 true.
we need to purposely find those thankful moments.
Yeah, that's so true. Because we don't get thanked enough for what we
Mm-mm,
do.
mm-mm.
So when you put it out there, it's like, okay, ah, what I do is meaningful, you know.
Yeah.
It's like patting us on the back, saying thank you. That's all.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So, I really enjoyed you here today, speaking about the exchange platform that you created and everything else. But, I always like to close with a fun little question. If you
Okay.
were on a stranded island, right, and you could
Hmm.
only take two things with you, what would it be and why? From your office. You could only take two things from your office with you on
Okay.
a stranded island. What would it be and why?
So as we all know, hospitals are always cold.
Yes.
So I have a box under my desk, even in the middle of what is it? August, still in the middle of August in Arizona. I still have a box full of blankets and jackets so that
Yeah.
I can be warm. So I would pick
Yeah.
up that whole box and I would have bedding and pillows for my stranded island. And then I would probably take one of my motivational signs off my desk and
Uh,
take it with me so
yeah.
that I had something to look at to find motivation.
Yeah. That's so.
Um, yeah, I really want the coffee, but I figure
Yeah.
that'll just go away after I drink it.
Yep.
So
No, it won't. And it won't last. It won't last
it
you. That's
won't
true.
last. So
Those are some great items, though, especially the
Yeah.
motivation, because you could keep reading it to keep you sane.
To keep, it'll be my Wilson.
Right, right. Well, Barbara, thank you so much for joining me today on GME Admin Insights. And if listeners wanted to connect with you, is LinkedIn the best way for people to reach out to you?
Yes, absolutely. You can find me on LinkedIn.
Okay, great. So today we've been speaking with Barbara Gohre, a trailblazer handling her business, growing and working the GME community. So reach out to her on LinkedIn if you have not connected with her already. And with that, that concludes another enlightening episode. And remember, your dedication keeps the gears of GME turning and your growth matters. Until next time, community, we are out. I think I found her. She's